Hi, I want to welcome you today to our introductory class. We're going to go over Parkinson's disease, some basic stuff, specifically going to talk about one topic because it's a broad subject, but the classes that we're having, the program is set up into 8 classes of about 45 minutes. Each class we have a little bit of an educational piece and pretest. Then we're going to go into some activities that you can do to help correct the problem or minimize the problem. And they may be exercises, they may be activities. And then we're going to go into having you have some homework, so to speak, that you're going to go home with and practice so you can come back to the next session. And the reason why we're asking people to go to all 8 sections is because one thing builds on the other. We're going to start with something and we're going to build on that. So what we're going to talk about today is the role of posture and muscles and how that affects how you look, affects how you stand, affects how you breathe and how you eat. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But in general, we want to set it up that by the end of the 8 sessions, you have a fairly good understanding of some things you either are going to need to pay attention to prevent, or you're going to need to work on to reduce from getting worse. And studies show, a lot of research proves that being attentive and being able to be aware will actually help you if you can practice that to keep you from progressing. All right, so today we're going to start with a simple test, and I'm going to put something up on the screen. But are you going to just go ahead and you're going to stand against a wall? So try to find a flat wall that doesn't have anything on it and see if you can find one. And then I'm going to show you a picture of what I want to do. I can get it to come up. Okay. Excuse me a second, I have too many things on my plate. Okay, so I want to show you this picture, and I want you to just feel how you feel against the wall. Identify if your heels are back against the wall, can you touch other parts of your body? Okay, so what I'm going to show you is actually an exercise that you can do as well as a test. So you can use it as both actually. So this one I'm going to share with you is a picture of a guy, and you can see that he is basically standing up against the wall. And you'll see one that says a check and one that says an X. And this is not just inherent in Parkinson's. This is inherent in anybody who's got knee pain, somebody who's tight somewhere. It could just be from the nature of your business or your work. If you lean forward, then you know that you have good posture. If you can't, those are those tight areas that you need to work on. Gravity tends to pull us down, not up. So what I want to do is have you look at the screen again, and I'm going to show you some of the things that posture is important for. So posture is important for a lot of reasons. And I'm going to go back to this picture because I want to kind of share with you some of the reasons why we want to work on it. So think if somebody is walking forward, what is your tendency to fall? And I know we overplay the fall, but it is a big issue in Parkinson's disease. And part of it is because of posture. Part of it is because of tight muscles. Part of it is because of the fact that your automatic systems don't work quite as well because the Parkinson's disease kind of affects those motor systems. So if your head is forward, and even worse, if your trunk is forward, your tendency is going to be to fall forward. And it's not going to take as much to throw you off balance. If you're backwards, and a lot of people are even backwards more than that, if you get up, you may find that you fall backwards. If you have any issues with lightheadedness, being balanced is going to put you in a better position to prevent yourself from falling and sitting down again, if you can, to just wait for it out, than to sit there, to stand there and have to fight your posture. Okay, so we're going to talk about some exercises that you can do. So the first thing is just paying attention to your posture. In Parkinson's disease, it is known that a lot of these automatic things that we do when we get up and when we start to move aren't happening. So you actually have to pay attention to it. And what I tell people is when you're walking, take a look in the glass and look at the reflection. Take a look and look at the mirror and see what your posture looks like. And if you can, correct it. So take that time to try to like bring your shoulders back, put back the curve in your back. And from the side, it kind of looks like this. And then keep your chin down and see if you can do what's called a chin tuck, which is you're bringing your chin back so that your back of your head comes back more in alignment with your shoulders. Okay. So literally just having your head forward predisposes you even more to falling. So even just having a forward head, again, when you reach down, where's your head? Your head's down. And then what happens? People fall. So just being conscientious of your posture when you're sitting, trying to keep yourself so that you're sitting with your upper trunk erect and your shoulders aligned and your head in alignment as well. But hopefully not. But when you're standing, usually you're kind of hunched forward a little bit. Now you could have pain, you could have tight muscles, nothing to do with Parkinson's. But the tendency is as we get older, we sit more. And if you sit more, these hip muscles right here get tight. And when they get tight, they start to bring you forward. So you're sitting a lot and your hip muscles are tight. Your hamstrings, which are the muscles in the back here, get tight. And because you're sitting, the muscles in the front that balance out those back of the leg muscles aren't working as well. And so the back muscles tend to overpower and tend to make you bend your knees. Same thing with your upper body. The tendency is to bring your head down. The more you bring your head down, the more you're stretching these muscles here. And when you stretch a muscle out too much, it gets weak. So a lot of what we're going to talk about is really just the balance between the front and the back. So if everything's balanced and we're as strong in our back as we are in our front, and we're as flexible that we can bring our hips straight so we can bring our hips in, our balance is going to be better. So let's talk a little bit about some things that you can do to help with your balance. Well, to go back to that wall exercise, this one right here, this is actually a great thing to just do throughout the day. You know, take your time. Anytime you have a couple of seconds, put the walking device with you if you need one. Make sure that you're steady and try to get your heels back and see if you can try to encourage your body to touch the back of the wall. You may not do it right away, but over time, you're stretching the muscles in the front and you're strengthening the muscles in the back. You're getting that balance that you need. If you find that your upper body is tight, there's a couple things you can do. You can do something called a wall angel, which is right here. And you're bringing your shoulders back and your elbows back against the wall so that your hands and your elbows, forearms at least, are touching. So you want to keep your shoulders back, and then she's bringing her arms up, so she's stretching, and she's keeping her head where it is, and she brings her hands down again. And if you have tight shoulders, the muscles that cross the front of your chest often get very tight. And again, there's often a chance for imbalance. If you stretch out these muscles with this exercise, what you'll find is that you will be able to stand up straighter. So if we go to another one, she's just basically sitting there and just basically keeping her arms straight like that. And that's another one that's good, is you don't have to necessarily do the movement up if you've got issues bringing your arms up, but just even keeping your arms back and your shoulders and elbows and hands all close to the wall. The other is, if you're weak in your upper back, is you can do what's called wall push-ups. So you don't have to get on the floor and do this, but you're gonna actually come against the wall with your forearms, bring your weight forward, and then back again.
Jay, can you share your screen? We can't see your screen, please.
Oh, did it go off? I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry, can you see it now? I think the internet's going in and out on me for some reason. So
yes, we can see it now.
Okay. So if you can see, what we were talking about before was called snow angels, and we've done them when we were little in the snow, but what she's doing is actually getting her elbows back, her shoulders are touching the wall, or as close as she can, and her forearms and hands are touching the wall. If you can bring your arms up, you can work the top of your shoulders, you can stretch the bottom of your arms, you can work across the chest and stretch the chest muscles. And then if you find that you're weak and you can't bring yourself to come upright, then the possibility is that maybe the muscles in the back are weak. And that's when you could do these wall exercises. And the wall exercises are really just, you do what you can do. So I usually tell people, if you can do 2 sets of 10, that's great. If it starts to cause problems, do what you can do and see if over time you can build up the number of repetitions that you can do, or how far away from the wall that you can get. You may find in the beginning that you don't have a lot of strength and you can't even push against the wall very well. But don't get discouraged, because practice makes perfect. And try to get to the point where you can do it more often during the day, maybe twice a day. And again, just targeting the areas that are either weak or they're tight. Nobody really has the time to do everything. So I always say, at least do the things that you have to focus on. So the next is flexibility. Okay, so if your joints aren't flexible and your ligaments and muscles aren't flexible, no matter how strong you are, it will not allow you to attain good posture. And again, going back to the fact that as we get older, or as we have issues with movement, we tend not to move as much. You'll find that you need to stretch even more. And a lot of times I'll just tell clients to try to find a nice, gentle yoga program on YouTube. Because if you can just follow a nice, gentle YouTube program on YouTube, you can at least get some of the basics. You won't get the modifications that you can get when a clinician's involved, but you can at least get started on something and try to stretch out these muscles and strengthen the others. And that's a lot of what yoga does in a nice, gentle way. If you are going to bend down, and none of us will probably obtain this, but if you are going to bend down, make sure that your back is straight. So your rotation should come from your hips. If you have to bend your knees to do that, that's okay. The goal would be that you could keep your legs straight and you could come down straight, maybe not this far, but come down this straight. Alternately, you can actually just sit in the chair and let your arms go down and just let yourself hang a little bit and stretch out a little bit of your low back, trying to keep your head in alignment with your shoulders. Another way you can stretch your low back, and this is good if you have back pain as well, is to bring your knees up to your chest and hold them there. And you'll get the stretch in the back here. Again, if you have some other issues, you may have some difficulty with this, but bringing your hips up makes your pelvis rotate this way, and it stretches out these muscles that attach to the pelvis. So again, sitting, we stretch these muscles, but a lot of times we're not sitting properly, so they're actually tight instead of loose. Going to another one, this is another really nice, gentle exercise. You don't have to do it on the floor. You could do it on the bed. You could do it where your hands are propped on the desk in front of you. But the motion is that you're arching your back as if you were a cat that was ready to bite. And then you're slumping down and trying to make as much of a curve in your back as you can. So the movement is coming from your spine and your abdominal muscles and your shoulder muscles. So you're actually working more than just pain management and stretching. You're keeping yourself strong in your upper back and your shoulders. And you could do this regularly throughout the day. It's a nice exercise to do if you're sitting for a long period of time, or if you find yourself standing and feeling uncomfortable. It helps your body to get back into alignment. So another one is if you can achieve a position that you're bringing your trunk forward and your arms forward. So she's stretching out these muscles underneath her arm. She's stretching her low back, and she's actually just really keeping her legs still. If you can't get into this position, you can still modify it and keep yourself up on your knees and just bring your upper trunk forward, or sit at a table and come forward over the table and let the table be the part where you try to bring yourself forward. A lot of people won't be able to get their arms all the way straight like this at first, but again, just practice. Try to, with each activity that you're stretching, you want to hold that muscle activity there for 5 seconds at least. You don't want to force the activity. So if it's getting uncomfortable, that's your stop point. It's telling, your body's telling you, you know, I really don't want you to go too far. This is a good place. Let's stretch here, and we can do more when we're ready. Because your muscles need time to just relax and stretch the muscle fibers out. And depending on how long you've been tight, it may take a long time to stretch them out. So it may take a while to see that benefit. Getting into strengthening, most people have probably heard about the plank exercise. I like, even if you just have your knees on the bed or the floor and your forearms are like this, but the key is that you're really trying to bring yourself so that your back is straight. Okay, you can see it a little bit easier on her. If she were to relax her stomach muscles, she would actually hang down and she'd have more of an arch in her back. So you're working the core muscles that are trying to support your low back, and at the same time, you're getting some stretching. And again, this is somebody who's very able to do these things, but this is a high level activity that a lot of people may not achieve, and that's okay. It's what you can do. And again, modifying it however it works for you. another stretching exercise that works the front of your hips, which is where when you're sitting, when you first get up, do you find that when you start to get up that your hips don't really want to let you and your back's a little stiff? This is a good exercise. Again, you can modify these in all sorts of ways. So now she is laying down and she's starting at a position that she can actually, I'm going to bring this picture up a little bit bigger. She's trying to get so that she can get her arms up and she's trying to straighten her elbows, but that's as far as she can go, and that's okay. As she's able to stretch out more, she's able to bring her arms straighter. But you'll notice that your hip muscles right here that are your hip flexors, so they bend your hips, can get tight. And so they will restrict you, and so will your flexibility in your spine. You can do this again also over a table and just kind of pay attention to your upper body and keep your feet planted on the floor. Keep the table close to you and try to stretch up and arch your back with your hands on the table. Another exercise that's really good to do, and this works for anybody, is your lower abdominal muscles, the stomach muscles in the bottom, are really the muscles that are supporting your low back. So what you want to do is strengthen the area here. So you get on the bed or on the sofa or wherever you can get that you can put your knees up so your feet are down. And what you want to do is put a little towel roll right in the small of your back. And then try to flatten that towel roll. And by doing that, you're working these muscles in your stomach, in your lower stomach muscles. You want to try to hold that there. So it may be okay that you can get it there, but can you maintain that position without lifting the rest of your body? So it's a very small movement that you may not even see at first. Some people, it takes a little bit of time before they can get it, but when you flatten your back out and you're really pushing down on that substance, whatever it is, whether it's a rolled towel or something, you want to be able to keep the muscles tight right here. It's good if you can do a series of these. So maybe you could do 10 of these and hold them each for 5 seconds. If that's not easy for you, you can work up to that. You want to be sure that you're breathing through the whole time, so you're not holding your breath. And again, you can see she's bringing her hips, she's bringing her lower abdomen down, so her back is flattening out in the low spine, and she is trying to then relax it and bring it back up. Men have a harder time with this than women. I'm not exactly sure why. I have my theories, but basically I think part of it is that men don't typically move their pelvis quite as much as women when you're walking. That's just a theory, but don't get frustrated if you have a hard time with it. Okay. Go down a little bit more, and I'm going to go after that, and we're going to go out to off the chair and go back to the discussion. So let's talk a little bit about why posture is important. So posture is important because as you develop more tightness, you start to get tighter and you come forward. And when you do that, you can't get as much air into your lungs. So you can't get as much air into your lungs means that you're gonna breathe faster because you need to play catch up. It's also going to mean that you're not going to be able to project your voice as loud. It means that you may not be able to speak as long of a sentence. It could even affect your eating. So if you're very severely coming forward, it becomes an issue not only for the mechanics of trying to get the food back there, but also trying to breathe while you're eating. So again, a lot of these things can be really minimized if you can get a hold of it and try to pay attention early. A lot of this happens because people don't know and they aren't forewarned. These are the things that you want to work on. These are the things that you want to make sure that you keep up with. And it's something that you have to kind of work at, because as you progress through the Parkinson's disease, the muscles want to get tighter. You start to not be paying so much attention to it. But if it's already something that you do and you're already strong and flexible enough, you'll be able to maintain that posture, be able to breathe better, be able to eat better, and be able to swallow better. So one of the other things that it does is it helps you with trying to let you know also what is going on with your body. So if you are standing up straight, your body has pretty good alignment, and so you have pretty decent balance. So there's muscles on both sides that are working and things are really good. If you're starting to get tight somewhere, it's going to affect something else. It may be your low back, it may be your shoulders, it may be your knees. Something's going to compensate. And when they compensate, when the compensation happens, it increases your risk for injury and your ability to do the activities that you want to do. So again, it's not just posture, it's posture as it relates to function. It can also affect how far out you can step when you're walking, which then also affects how far you can walk. And again, back to the balance issue, it also affects your balance. It can affect your energy level. It affects your nerve activity. It affects your blood flow. It puts strain when you have to put more movement than's designed for the body in certain positions. And most of us don't like that it makes us look old. That's first and foremost. The other part is that if you're sitting up straight or standing up straight, you're going to find that your mood's a little bit better, which has actually been proven that just literally the act of paying attention and doing something for yourself, just for yourself, can make you feel better. So some of the things that you want to look at is, what are some of the problems that can cause pain or can cause the muscle imbalance or can cause the issue that you're having to not be able to stand up straight? So the first one would be the fact that you could have pain, and that obviously if you're having pain, you want to talk to your doctor and you want to let them know that you're having some pain and let them address it with you. It could be that your muscles are getting tight or stiff because of the Parkinson's disease. And again, I would go back to the doctor, let them know that there's a lot of times that you can do modifications of your medications and they could be part of the play of what's going on. It could simply be that you don't have the strength and the flexibility that you need, or that you're just not able to, or more likely not paying attention to it. So when you're paying attention to it, you start to need to do things to fix it, right? But after a while, those things that you need to do kind of just come on their own and you don't have to think about it. So you have to develop that habit, and it takes a while for that habit to develop. So what I want to talk about now is just the act of breathing. So we know that posture is important and it affects a lot of people in Parkinson's disease. We also know, again, that when you have these postural issues and this tightness in your body, it can affect your ability to take nice, big, deep breaths. If you couple that with the fact that the perception sometimes becomes, I think I'm speaking loud, but I'm not, you want to make sure that it's just a perception thing and that you can project your voice. And in order to do that, you need to get enough air in your lungs. So what I tell people to start with is to sit so that they're sitting in a chair and slightly reclined, and try to put one hand on your upper chest and one on your belly, and see which hand is rising. So try that and see if you can tell which hand is rising more. Is it your lower hand or your upper hand? If it's your lower hand, that means you're using your diaphragm more, which is what you want to use for breathing. There are other muscles involved, but specifically you're taking a big enough breath to get your belly to come out. If your upper body is coming out, it means that you're not taking a deep breath. It means that you may be even using your shoulders. And that could be, again, because you can't, because physically you're tight. It could just be a conscious, a perception thing that you're not even aware that you're doing it. So I always tell people to try to start with making sure that you can take nice deep breaths when you're laying back a little bit. And when this becomes automatic and you can do this comfortably, then you work on just sitting straight upright away from the back of the chair. If you close your eyes, you're going to find it's a little bit easier to concentrate. It seems like it'll never happen, but if you picture the air forcing your hand out, you'll find that over time, you'll find that your belly is starting to move more. Try to relax your upper chest muscles and your shoulder muscles. And then when you get to the point that you can do that, then you want to stand up and see if you can do it in standing. And again, nice posture, hands on your belly and hands on your upper chest, and you should feel it coming out with your upper belly. When you can take nice deep breaths, you also can cough well. So if you can get enough volume in, you can push that volume out. The more you can push out, obviously the bigger the force of your cough. So it also helps you to clear your airways if you need to. So I want you to go back to the wall and now try to see how many body parts are touching that need to be touching. So you're going to go back to the wall. You want to keep your chin level, so your eyes are straight forward, and see if you can get your head back and your shoulders and your bottom and your heels and possibly your calf muscles. And if you can do that, that's great. If you can't do that, you want to get some of the exercises that either strengthen or stretch out those body tissues so that you can be equal on both sides and get back to an upright position. So what I'll challenge you with is checking out your friends and your family. You'd be surprised how many people don't have good posture. So this is not a phenomenon that's only Parkinson's, but we do know that with Parkinson's, we have that overlying issues that predispose you to it. And we also know that people that have Parkinson's have a much higher risk to fall. And one of the things that you can take control of and keep yourself in good shape so that you don't predispose yourself to fall any more than the disease makes you is take back that posture and strength and flexibility that you need so that you can keep standing upright. All right, well, I hope this was helpful, and I thank you for joining, and I hope you have a nice day.